inflation. I mean, I've been talking about inflation and the hocus pocus part of inflation, that the government says, yeah, inflation is only 2.8%. Everything is good. It used to be at 4%, but now we're taking it back to 2.8 because we raised the rates from 0 to 5%. You all hopefully know who Milton Friedman is. He's a Nobel Prize winning economist, and he's gone now. He's passed away. But Mark Benioff tweeted one of his quotes. Mark Benioff is the CEO and founder of Salesforce.com. CRM is the symbol. And this sentence just sums it up perfectly. Inflation is made in Washington because only Washington can print money. Well, he said this like 30 years ago, right? We had an inflation situation in the 80s when Paul Volcker was the Federal Reserve chairman, and he absolutely, if you guys think this was raising rates, short-term interest rates in 1987, 88 were at 25%, people, because inflation was absolutely out of control. But then I agree with this 1,000,000%. Washington, irregardless of who's in charge. There was a period of where Clinton was working with the Republicans because Republicans had the House and Democrats had the executive branch, and the Republicans had the legislative branch. They worked together. They passed like balanced budget amendments and things like that, and then gone. Whoever came after that, literally whoever, Democrat, Republican, zero discipline in Washington, none. They spend the money they don't have. Not only they spend the money they don't have, they borrow and spend money. And this is exactly, this hits it also, it hits a nail on the head. Washington spends the money, right? That's fiscal policy. We have absolutely no discipline in fiscal policy. If I was running my household with that type of fiscal policy, I would have declared bankruptcy for the last 10 years in a row, probably, right? But then the problem I have is I don't have the printing machines. I can't put zeros on the ledger. In fact, you all should watch that Jay Powell interview that he had on 60 Minutes a few years ago. And the guy, the journalist, literally asked him, he goes, do you really print money, like cash, paper money? The guy goes, no, we stopped doing that because we need so much of it. The machines are not fast enough. He said, we just add zeros to our ledger. Think about this, people. Can I add zeros to my ledger? Can I call my bank and says, oh, hold on, just give me another week. I'm going to add a few zeros to my bank account, and then I'll send you the mortgage payment? Think about it. This is what's happening in Washington, right? But 100,000,000%, this is correct. Inflation is made in Washington because they love spending the money, right? The money they have in tax receipts, the money they don't have in tax receipts, the money, they just love spending money. On what they spend, God knows. Obviously defense, obviously education, which is, well, we know where our public education system is. All those trillions spent, not sure. We lag the world in science and math. We're like 28th, right? We're behind some third world countries, right? Where's that money going? And but yeah, they create the inflation through fiscal policy, right? Because now the Federal Reserve has to print the money to balance the budget, right? So if you're spending 4 trillion, let's say, for example, and the tax receipts and all the receipts by the IRS or the federal government is 3 trillion, okay? So we have a 1 trillion deficit. Where's that money going to come from? That money is spent already. It's the budget, right? The federal employees have to get paid. The defense contractors have to get paid. All these people need to get paid. That's why it's great to be in business with the U.S. government, because they will never bounce a check. Because why? Because the Federal Reserve will go, turn the machines on, add the zeros to the ledger, and pay everybody. And then kick the can down the road and say, look, now our deficit has hit $35 trillion. And, the ROI, by the way, the return on investment on that deficit is absolutely horrendous now. About, during Second World War, $1 of deficit produced about $10 in GDP growth. Then in the great financial crisis, even then in 2008, they had to print money, right? They created the TARP. Even then, the return, the ROI on the borrowed money was good. It was 1 to 4. Guess what? What do you think? What do you guys think it is now? For every dollar we borrow, right, it adds only 56 cents to the GDP. we're at a deficit both ways now. Not only we're borrowing money, but our money is not returning. It is not even 1 to 1. It's 1 to 56 cents. So how long can this go on? I don't know. I honestly don't know. But yeah, so Milton Friedman, rest in peace. Great little tidbit here. See, this is what you guys should talk about at your dining room tables. Serge said Milton Friedman said this, and what do you think we're doing here? And then create some sort of conversation as opposed to talking about the Kardashians or some shit. I don't know. But but the world is there because we don't talk about these issues anymore and how it affects our pockets.